Welcome to Never Too Late. I'm Dorothy Wilhelm, and we have a special treat for you. We have some real entertainment. Well, I mean, we always have entertainment, but this is real entertainment. We're going to be meeting Dennis James, who is the world's foremost pipe organ player for silent films. Let's meet him, let's talk to him, and then let's hear him play. Ladies and gentlemen, follow me, please. Dennis, I've heard that you're the only living musician who has the history, the musicality, and the cinemacality. Is that a good word or not? In fact, you're the only fellow in the whole world that can play with silent films with the organ as you do. How in the world did that happen?
Well, that takes a lot of influences and makes them into a nexus.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of people that do what I do, but I happen to have a confluence of a desire to reproduce history, and so I have studied with musicians of the period from when I was a teenager. I began with Melody Mack in Philadelphia, who began himself at age 16 playing for silent film. And so I was mentored by actual musicians who played in this profession. And then I spent my college years specializing in doing the research to unearth hitherto lost film scores. Film music at the time was considered disposable. Once you played for film, the film went on and you threw the music away. And so it's very difficult to find the actual scores that were written to be played by the musicians of the period. And then I've devoted myself to the styles, and I've learned both listening from it is in the recorded era so that you can actually hear the players of the day, and I've been inculcated into the actual traditional styles of the time. And then my own preference is historical preservation and the presentation of the past with its vivacity intact. I don't think you have to change anything. And so I've devoted myself to all of these elements. And one of the ones that really makes me stand past other people that have claims of the kinds of things you talked about is that I work with the original materials. I've toured with the silent film stars of the day, Lillian Gish, for 6 years. I was her personal accompanist. And through that relationship, I was able to get contact with the actual archives that hold the master prints for these films. And so I've always insisted on absolutely the highest quality of image on top of all of the presentation aspects that went into this as a profession in its day. And so, as with many things that go through time, elements drop away, and cliches such as people just made the music up slip in to cover people that don't have the ability to have the original resources at their disposal or just don't bother to research. And so the nexus that you talk about is that, yes, I am the only full-time silent film musician specializing on playing theater pipe organs in movie houses and doing it with original prints of the film shown properly. I'm the only one doing that.
I don't even know where to go with that. It's so exciting, but I do know that I am sitting here holding Harold Lloyd's hat.
Yes.
I know that in your pocket is a pair of Harold Lloyd's glasses. Maybe that would be a good place to go next. How'd that happen?
Oh, well, back in the early 70s, I was invited to California, and Harold had just passed on. And his estate was still fully staffed. They had the cooks, and they had the chauffeur, and they had the collection of Rolls Royces, and they had the laundress, and they didn't really know what to do with it. So the executor of the estate was a friend of mine, and he said, "Dennis, why don't you go out, live out in Harold's place for the summer?" So in the summer of 1972, I lived at Green Acres, which was Harold's mansion, and in the process I became engaged to the executor's daughter, and as a gift they gave me a pair of Harold's glasses. So these are Harold Lloyd's actual tortoiseshell glasses from the
is-
1920s.
Does it feel different when you wear them?
Well, yeah, it's that frisson of authenticity. My whole career is based on historical recreation
slip
and
that on
authenticity.
for a minute.
And so, and in my 20s, when I actually put all these things on, they said that I looked like Harold Lloyd. I've aged, and Harold didn't. So.
And well, that's true.
It was a full profession. The highest paid musicians in the world were the silent film musicians in New York City. It's right in the union books. They were higher paid than the New York Philharmonic and the opera and the ballet. It was the silent film musicians that were the #1 musicians in the market.
Now you're sitting up there playing the organ, looking at the silent film. Do you ever get tired of them?
When the movie hits the screen and I'm literally talking to the film with the music, I'm reacting to the film just as everyone else is, but I actually get to talk back with the music and support the images and the actions. So no, I never get tired. It's very energizing.
Well, you're in the rare position of actually preserving an art form. I don't know that people necessarily think of it that way, but it's something that we're right on the verge, on the cusp of losing.
Yeah, in fact, this particular nexus of economic decline is one of the triggering factors, it seems, that's causing a great revolution in the notion of preservation of this art form and converting it into something else. The trend has finally spread now to Seattle. I've been informed that there are staff members at the Paramount Theater that are dedicated to bringing rock music to accompany silent film, which is anathema to me because you go to all the trouble to preserve a movie palace and become famous for saving its pipe organ and saving and doing authentic preservation of the architecture itself, and then to take the very art form that was the reason the movie palace was built and show the film, but then replace the music with new local rock musicians who've never even played for silent movies. It shows the absurdity of modern times.
Well, now as we watch the movie and hear you play, what should we be aware of? What are you doing that we might just not even pick up on, besides your playing?
Well, what I like to say is that all of the elements are in place. You're in a movie palace environment. We're sitting right now in one of the great movie palaces in not quite the size city of Seattle, but Olympia.
But it is the capital.
It's the capital, right? And so you're sitting in an authentic environment for the showing of silent film. And then you're showing a print that is taken directly from the master negatives. And so you're seeing the image at its highest preserved quality. And then you're hearing an actual pipe organ, the actual music instrument that was used for accompanying the movies. And then you're hearing it in the hands of someone who's actually done the research to the point that what I am doing, well, I mean, I can tell you one anecdote. There's a man who came up to me in Everett, Washington, and he was about 95 years old. And he was very straight. He had one of those Chesterfield coats, and he's asked to see Mr. James, and he spoke to me. And he said, I was in the NBC Symphony. And he said, and before that I played in the silent era. And I want you to know that if you were alive then, you would have been the greatest musician the field ever had. He said, that is the greatest silent film music I have ever heard. And so this was coming from someone who was of the era. And so that's what that's what I project when I do these shows, is this historical validity and authenticity. And I know that it works because people come up to me and they say, you told me all about that, and then when the movie started, I completely forgot to listen. I just got so caught up in the movie. And that's the greatest compliment of all, is that the music is actually wedded to the image, and you're not thinking of whether the music is good or bad or quality or history. It's wedded to the image. That's my job, and that's what I do.